It's funny. I would definitely consider myself a marketer who comes from one of the worst environments you could ever humanly imagine. And we were so broke, it's leaving the oven door open to heat the house broke.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Marketing Inc. I'm Allie Bloyd, your host, and I have a really, really special guest for you guys today, Michael Anthony Unbroken. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Allie. I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah, so I have a feeling this conversation, this episode is going to be a little bit different than some of the things that we typically talk about. Ultimately, it is something that's incredibly valuable in my life right now. It is something that really resonates with me, and I have the amazing opportunity of doing a podcast with him just a little bit ago. And I learned so many details about him and his story that I think you guys are going to just really get so much from. So welcome to the show, first and foremost. But why don't you bring the audience up to speed on who you are, what you do, and how you got here? I know that is a whole mouthful based on what we just talked about. That's how I typically open every show. So feel free to just kind of share your journey as in detail or as summarized as you feel necessary.
Yeah. Today, it's funny. I would definitely consider myself a marketer. I am an entrepreneur. I run a couple 7-figure companies. I have written 4 books. I'm a bestselling author. I'm an award-winning speaker, got nominated Coach of the Year. I don't know all the fucking accolades in the world, but ultimately I'm just a guy who was destined for nothing, who should be dead or in jail, who comes from one of the worst environments you could ever humanly imagine, and made a decision that I was going to do something else. And I think that one of the things I lean into a lot, especially today, is using my message and my story as my mission. Yeah. And it's something even today deeper than ever before. I started Think Unbroken Podcast, which has become an award-winning podcast, over 1,000 episodes. Amazing people like you. Some of the greatest marketing minds in the world have been on. Some of the greatest entrepreneurs, from Amy Porterfield and Jamie Lee Curtis and Tom and Lisa Bilyeu, Layla Hermosi. The list goes on, but also amazing mental health providers, Gabor Mate, Caroline Leaf, Meryl Bouquet, Anna Lemke. I've dedicated all of my last decade of my life to trying to leave an impact in the world, because I grew up with parents who, they always say hurt people hurt people. My mom was a drug addict and alcoholic. She actually cut off my right index finger when I was only 4 years old. My stepdad was super abusive, would, beat the shit out of me and my brothers, put me in the hospital. Never met my real father, and I'm biracial, black and white, if you're listening, not watching. And my grandmother, who adopted me when I was living in a house that was abandoned for 6 weeks, was an old white lady from a town in Tennessee you never heard of. And she was incredibly racist. So imagine growing up biracial. You're not allowed to have black friends in your house, and your grandmother's giving you white boy haircuts, so you go down this crazy path. And so at 12 years old, I get high for the first time, which was also arguably the greatest single day of my life. It was the first day I ever felt peace. At 13, I started getting drunk. By 15, I got kicked out of high school for the first time. I eventually got kicked out 3 more times. Had a learning disability, ADHD, was constantly getting in fights. And Allie, you grow up around people who are poor, generally speaking, anytime you're anywhere in America, but we were impoverished. We were so broke, it's leaving the oven door open to heat the house broke. Right. It's stealing food from Big Lots on the corner of 30th and Georgetown in Indianapolis broke. It's only showering at school because we don't have running water broke. Yeah. And so I was like, when I'm a grown up, this is not going to be my life. I'm not going to live this existence. And so I end up getting kicked out of high school the last time. It's my senior year. Irony of all ironies in this moment is it was my business teacher, Mr. Bush. Shout out, man changed my life. I go up to his class. My girlfriend had called me, and I was at home stoned playing video games. And she's like, "Hey, you're not on the graduation list." And I'm like, fuck, I'm not. And so I get in my car, I drive to school, I go up to Mr. Bush's class, my business teacher, and he goes, "You are not passing." And I go, I'm an ornery 18-year-old, by the way. I go,
Yeah.
"How dare you fail me?" Right? Like, such a wild thing to say to an adult. I would smack a child who said that to me. And he goes, "I didn't fail you. You failed yourself." And it forced me to go to summer school. And
Yeah.
the summer school was really, really bad. It was a horrible experience. I ended up getting kicked out of that. The teacher says, "We're going to give you your diploma and I'm going to let the streets figure you out." That was literally what happened. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. That same night, I got fired from the warehouse job that I was working while I'm making enough money to barely take care of myself and my next younger brother because my grandmother's in the hospital in a fucking coma.
Oh, no.
I have no parents. It's me and him. I'm 18. I don't know which way's up. I'm selling drugs during the night. I'm working this bullshit warehouse job during the day and in the afternoon. Got kicked out of school, get fired from this job. I have no idea what to do. And I'm sitting in this car and it's this crappy old Kia Rio, no power anything. You have to like crank the windows. There's no power steering. It's a 5-speed transmission. I hate it. I hate my life. I hate everything that's happening. And so much of it obviously was out of my control because I'm a child. And as I'm there, I was like, when I'm a grown up, I'm going to fix this. And I'm like, I'm a grown up. This is on me now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not getting out of this car till I figure out what to do. And Allie, I'm not joking with you. I sat in that car for the next 3 hours and I was just like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? I was like, oh, I know what it is. I know how to solve this problem. I need to make $100,000 a year legally by the time that I'm 21. And that became my first goal. That became the biggest marker in my life. And ended up, by the time that I was 21, landed a job with corporate America for a Fortune 10 insurance company and made $100,000 a year. By the time I was 25, I made $1 million, but I had blown every penny, all of it. I went full on chaos.
Yeah.
Right? Drugs, money, women, clothes, cars. I mean, I was deep into it. It was not good. And so at 26, I was 350 pounds, smoking 2 packs a day,
Wow.
drinking myself to sleep. I was high from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed. I was cheating on my girlfriend. My brothers wouldn't talk to me. My friends wouldn't talk to me. I bought an $80,000 Cadillac CTS when I was 21. That shit just got repoed. I have no money to my name. I am also simultaneously an award-winning destination wedding photographer at the time. And everything, oh my God, it's so crazy. And it's all true, by the way.
Yeah.
And so all of my life is collapsing around me. And I'm in the worst experience that I have ever had because I didn't realize what I now understand is that I had never really faced the demons. I had never faced the worst things that have happened to me.
Yeah.
And I always pushed them down. And it was like I would touch success and I would destroy it. I would have a happy relationship, I would destroy it. I would get a friendship, I would destroy it. I would be on a health kick, I would destroy it.
Mhm.
And I didn't understand because you're 25 and I grew up in the Midwest and like nobody talks about this stuff.
Yeah.
And my friends at the time encouraged me. They were like, dude, go hook up with more chicks, make more money, have more fun. And I was living into that until it came to the point that I was sitting in the bathroom with a gun in my mouth while my girlfriend was banging on the bathroom door, please talk to me. And the thing that is so wild about all of that is I look back now, that's 15 years ago, and I don't even understand that reality anymore.
Yeah.
And I've dedicated my entire life of helping other people walk that path, writing the books, the coaching, the podcast, the speaking, all of the things have been very much about one thing. If a child cannot have a childhood like mine because of this work that I do, then it's worth it. It's worth the vulnerability. It's worth the fear. It's worth the secrets that I tell. It's worth the moments like this. It's worth everything because I know that between what I'm doing now and what I have done and what I will do, I'm going to leave a dent in the world. Now, I don't know what that dent looks like in the long run, but that's why I show up every day. And it's fucking really hard. But I also believe in what I'm doing.
Absolutely. I mean, what a story. There's just not much more to say. You came from the worst of the worst upbringing. I think this is something that is so inspirational when people truly understand the depth of what you went through, because most people don't pull themselves out of that the way that you
No,
did.
definitely not.
And that is the saddest reality, is that so many people are in that same position with no roadmap and no guide. Not only did you get yourself out of that from the world standards in terms of getting the corporate job and making the money and doing all of these things, but you also had that second realization that those are not enough to really make you happy and fulfilled. From an entrepreneurial perspective, I think it's equally as powerful, because it is very easy to look at other people who've got the accolades or they've got the business or whatever, and you think, they must have been handed it. They must have, it must have been easy for them, or everything must be great for them. Or you have these beliefs that if you didn't come from a certain upbringing or background, that you can't achieve certain things. But you were such a great example of someone who had all of the odds stacked against him in every possible way. And you never let that keep you down. You were able to rise from it, but ultimately confronting it is what sounds like completely changed your life. And so from that moment that you're sitting in the bathroom with the gun in your mouth, what happens from there is my question. Because
Hmm.
yes, you changed everything, but how did you get from that moment to where you are right now?
Yeah. I always say this: 26 to 30 were the 4 hardest years of my life, because 26 was like the awakening, right? And I'm sitting in the experience of the moment of the reality that I'm in, and I'm trying to balance the chaos that has now ensued. And that chaos being the paying the taxes for the decisions that I had made.
Yeah.
And it was brutal, because the first thing I had to start with was being honest. And I would call myself a expert liar. I learned how to do that because when you're walking into school covered in bruises, wearing the same clothes for 3 days, having not showered for 5, and you tell your teacher everything at home is fine because mom and dad said if you don't, we're going to beat the shit out of you, you're going to become a liar.
For sure.
When the cops come to your house because they have been called because of the screaming again, and you're on the curb with them and they're asking you what happened and you make up a story, you become a masterful liar. And the thing is, like, that serves you because it protects you. This is what people don't understand. The greatest liars in the world had really, really bad things happen to them because they had to learn how to protect themselves.
Yeah.
And then when it stops serving you, what happens is it destroys your life. And that's what my life was at 26. So at 26 to 30, I made this declaration where I'm like, I am going to tell the truth all the time.
Hmm.
And it was brutal. I'll be honest with you, Allie, if you would have sat me down and you'd be like, hey, you want to change your life, but you're going to have to tell the truth. And this is what's going to happen on the backside of it. I don't know if I would have done it,
Yeah.
to tell you the truth, because it was so wild and painful. And I had to, clean up a lot of messes, a lot. And I will tell you, most of the people who were in my life that period of time are actually all of them, except my siblings, are not in my life today. Part of that's me, part of that's them. That is what it is. And so it was like, okay, what do I need to do today? Let me start with honesty every day. Let me just tell the truth as much as humanly possible. Let me go to therapy and not pay this dude $200 an hour and just make up shit.
Yeah.
Let me get a coach. I'll tell you this, because we're both in market. I always say this: as an entrepreneur, you're a marketer first. I'm
Yeah.
sure you would agree with
For
that.
sure.
And so as a marketer, I've always understood one thing, because I learned this from Brendan Burchard about 13 years ago. I was on Facebook and I saw this advertisement from Brendan for one of whatever things he had. And this is early. Nobody was really Facebook advertising back then. And so your click throughs were like half of a quarter of a
Yeah.
penny. and I,
Those were
anyway,
old
I get
days.
totally. I mean, 100% a lead was like free.
Yeah.
And so I see this ad. I don't even know what the course is for, Allie. I have no idea. I cannot tell you. I do not remember, but I bought it and it was $50. And at that point I was $50,000 in debt, which, guess what? I didn't tell you that because that was such a crazy experience on
Yeah.
top of all the other things.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't know this. There's this white guy in Portland who apparently helps people with their lives. I guess something's got to give.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, fuck it. All right. I hit the credit card one more time. And that I cannot tell you anything about that course. I do not remember what was in it. I don't remember what happened, but I know one thing. It was the first time I ever bet on myself. And that moment is the first time I ever put money on the line. And I said, I can do this.
Yep.
I'd done it in other ways. I'd done it in business,
Mhm.
but I'd never done it for me.
Yeah.
You know, I had a coach to help me build the photography business. I had a coach to help me build the other things up, whatever, right? But I never had it for my life. And that became so transformative because that started the snowball effect. And then it was what it really was, and this is a little bit of a longer story, but I think it's wildly important because I want people to understand what is actually required for transformation. So I'm now 29 and I'm sitting in the living room having a conversation with my girlfriend who, for whatever reason, was still with me. And I'm like, I told you all this crap. I'm like, you should definitely not be with me. And, I look back at that, I go, she needed to do her work too,
Yeah.
right? Why is a woman like that with a man like me, right? Like attracts like. And so anyway, I'm with her and I say, look, whatever's happening here in Indiana, like this this is not getting me to where I believe I can go. I have to leave Indiana.
Yeah.
I have been researching trauma therapists across the entire country. I've had conversations at this point with like 50 of them. And I found this one guy in Portland, Oregon, just irony that it's also where Brendan was.
Yeah.
And I called him and he and I had a conversation. And at the end of it, I was like, oh my God, this man can help me. He knows what it's like to be mutilated by your mother.
Mhm.
He knows what it's like to be hurt. He knows what it's like to come out the other side.
Yeah.
And we have a call. And again, this is 11 years ago. And I go, oh, cool. So can we just do Skype meetings or what? And he goes, no, I only do in person. I don't do phone calls. I don't do Skype. You have to come here. And I sat down with my girlfriend at the time. And again, I'm just now coming out of like brutal debt. I still have no money. I'm barely surviving. She does not want to leave Indiana.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I go, this is a Thursday, by the way. I said, on Saturday, I'm driving to Portland, Oregon. And Allie, I went and got a rental car because again, my car got repoed.
Yeah.
I got a rental car. I had $500 in my pocket. I don't know a soul in Portland, Oregon. I have nowhere to live. I don't have the business is failing effectively because I can't even function.
Yeah.
And I go, you know what? Fuck it. And I got in a car and I drove 3 days from Indiana to Portland, Oregon. On Monday, I had to put that rental car back at Enterprise because I did not have enough money for a Tuesday. And on Tuesday, I walked 5 miles to that first therapy session and I sat with that man. And 11 years later, he's still my therapist. I got him on speed dial. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm getting to here is people are like, I will do anything to change my life except for what is required.
Yes, exactly. I think that again is why your story is so powerful. I think the blind faith and the trust that it takes to drive across the country with no money, no connections, no plan, all for the sake of healing yourself. That's something most people will never do. But you at that point obviously felt like there was no other option. You tried it your way. You tried to outrun the things that you'd been through. You tried to success it away, and you knew that you couldn't do that. So if you're willing, tell us what you went through in those early months of therapy. What was that actually like for you?
Wow. It's funny. I've been interviewed 400 or 500 times now. No one has ever asked me that question, ever. So I don't know that I've ever shared that before. It was brutal. It sucked. Like it was so unbelievably bad because you're talking about growing up in the 80s in the Midwest as a boy with no parents who only thing he understands is sports, who, get up, don't cry, be a man, that whole, thing that we talk about as men. And I realized one day, it's probably like 6 months in or so, I realized I hadn't cried in 15 years.
Wow.
I didn't cry when my mom died. I didn't cry when my grandma died. I didn't cry finding out my 3 child best friends had been murdered.
Wow.
I didn't cry when my relationships ended. I didn't cry when I would lose things or when I didn't. I was a robot. Allie, I literally thought I was a sociopath.
Yeah.
Like I really did, because I had
Mm.
no emotion. The only emotion I understood was anger.
Yeah.
But I had conflated anger. I didn't even understand anger. I thought anger was violence. I mean, I've been in hundreds of fights. Like I'm talking about knocking people out in the fucking bar just because you
Yeah.
looked at me crazy. Like I was that guy. I was
Yeah.
that violent. And I'm sitting here in these first few months with him, and it is brutal because I can feel it on the edge of me about to explode and come out, but I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to handle it. And I was in men's group therapy, which is probably one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life. And I'm sitting there, and one of the guys, I won't say his name, he looks at me, he goes, "You know what your problem is?" And I love that. I'm 6'4", 220, covered in tattoos. I'm the size of a freaking linebacker. And this guy is a
Don't say
small
that to a guy like you very often.
people don't talk to me like that.
Yeah.
And this guy is a average sized Asian man. Like he's 5'7", 140 pounds, right? And he looks at me, he goes, "You know what your problem is?" He goes, "You know how to be violent, but you don't know how to be angry." And I was like, "Oh yeah, motherfucker, I'll show you." And he was like, "See?" I mean, I doubt I would have hit him. I mean, we're
Yeah.
in the therapy session, but I was like mad. And he goes, "That's your problem. You don't understand emotions." And that night, as I was walking back, because I walked everywhere. On nice days in Portland, you walk or you ride your bike or you take a bus, and I didn't have a car anyway, so it didn't matter. And so I walked by this little bookstore. I grabbed this little red journal, just something called me to it. And I went home because I've always been a writer. I've written my whole life. I wrote everything. Always. I mean, that's why I've written 4 books. I'm in the middle of writing the next one now. I'm writing blogs all the time and anyway, whatever. I grab this little red journal. I go home, and by the way, this is really, here's how crazy this was. The person I was living with at the time, I had met on Craigslist, and I'd moved in the same afternoon I met them because they were like, "You can pay me at the end of the month."
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's where this was.
Yeah.
And so I'm laying on this floor. I have no bed, by the way. I am sleeping on blankets on a floor. Like, think about this. I went from $1 million and being an international award-winning destination wedding photographer to sleeping on a floor, trying to solve my problems. And I took this journal
Powerful.
and I just started writing everything that had ever happened to me that I wasn't honest about. And to myself,
Mm-hmm.
by the way. And it was full of sadness. It was the journey of being molested as a Boy Scout by a member of the Mormon church. It was my mother mutilating me. It was my grandmother being racist. It was my stepdad being a monster. It was all the teachers who said I was a loser, but I just had ADHD and I hated school. It was all the people who never gave me an opportunity and told me I'd never be anything. It was all the pain and the suffering of this hurt, lost little boy who had no chance. And I just wrote it for hours. And that fucking notebook was covered in tears. And it was the first time I cried in 15 years. And that was just everything.
The release.
And so, oh my God. And it's for the next 2 years. All I did was that. And I wrote and I blogged and I posted on social and I shared. Because there's a post on December 31st, 2010 of me, or maybe it's 2012, excuse me, of me being like, I'm at complete fucking rock bottom. And I just laid it all out there.
Yeah.
All of it before it was cool, by the way.
Yeah.
And, but for me, it was like, I have to scream this out because I'm going to freaking explode if I don't.
Yeah.
And that here's the reality. I never intended on coaching over 3,000 paid clients. I never intended building a 7-figure coaching business. I never intended an award-winning podcast. I never intended best-selling books, and I never intended any of this. It was not the plan. The only thing that I wanted to do was not fucking kill myself. That's it.
It's an incredible story. So much of what you said resonated with me, honestly. And it's interesting because, I shared when we did your podcast, a lot of my same writing journey and things like this, these journals that I'd kept in real time. So obviously I was admitting these things to myself, but I was writing about them in a very detached way.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first uploaded all these journal pages into this bot, it said something about, wow, your writing is so dark. And I stopped for a second because I said, I'm not a dark person. You really see my writing as dark. And it wasn't dark in the sense of like wallowing or anything like that. I think it was just the content of
Mm-hmm.
what was in them. But I realized that I had shoved that down as well. I'd put on this mask of, I'm a happy person. Like I smile
Mm-hmm.
all the time. I love laughing, all these things. I can't be dark. What is that?
Mm-hmm.
And then the same recognition with anger. So I've never been a violent person at all. I've almost been on the other side of the extreme where I refuse to get angry, even when anger is deserved. And, another thing that was said to me was basically like, you've taken your anger and you've swallowed it until it became bitterness, which started eating at you, which is
Mm-hmm.
exactly how it is. And I think that ultimately, kind of like what we talked about before, allowing yourselves to sit in those dark emotions, allowing yourself to feel the sadness and the heaviness and the anger, it's the only way to actually release it from your system because not acknowledging
Mm-hmm.
it simply doesn't work. And as you saw within your own life, it's just waiting to come out, and the question is it gonna come out and get someone killed? Is it gonna
Yep.
come out and send you to jail for the rest of your life? Is it gonna come out and you end your own life? What is gonna happen is gonna be very dark if you don't confront these demons, and you did that. So, at what point over that 2-year period, you're in therapy, you don't wanna do anything besides write and share these things with people and not kill yourself, where was the turning point?
I mean, I was already in it. I think the turning point had already started. I
Yeah.
mean, I'd already made the decision. I think actually there was a moment where I was driving. I rented a Chevy Malibu, and I only remember that because it was like such a crazy moment of time. And so I'm driving and I'm getting ready to cross the Kansas border, which by the way is like the most boring thing ever. And I'm like listening to audiobooks on CD because again, this is a very long
Yeah.
time ago. And I crossed this border. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually doing this. Like I'm not like this is act like it was the reality had sunk in of like, oh my God, you made this crazy ass fucking decision. And fast forward, starting and launching the company, it was never intentional. Again, it was kind of the turning point. I was sitting and I was writing, and people would reach out to me. And at this point, I was only like blogging and posting on Facebook,
Yeah.
right? And I wasn't trying to make a thing of it. And
Your outlet.
I, yeah, it was just like I just need to play. I'm a writer. I write. That's what
Mhm.
I do. I
Yeah,
mean, I wrote a fucking screenplay when I was 9.
I
Like I'm
love
a
it.
writer. That's
I feel
as and so people would reach out to me and they were like, hey, will you help me? And Allie, I was like, absolutely not.
you.
No. 0% chance I'm doing
Yeah,
that.
that's so funny.
And people would just be like, hey, will you help me? And then one guy just kept asking me, and I was like, sure, $250 an hour. That was just like that was the jump
Yeah,
off point. I
that's
was I was like, I don't know what else, I don't know what it should be, but I'm at $250 an hour. I just was like, he's gonna say no.
yeah.
That was that was kind of the point. And he was like, okay, when can we start? And I was like, oh shit.
Wow. What?
That now we
Yeah,
have another
the
turning
answering
point.
machine. Yeah.
Yeah, and now we have another turning point. And it's one of those things where I think about in that area of time, 30, 31, 32, 33, where I'm just starting to kind of build this. I've been an entrepreneur now at this point for almost 10 years. So I
Mhm.
have a pretty strong understanding of business. But this business is very different.
Definitely.
Whatever this is not the same as a photography studio. It's not the same as a t-shirt company. It's not the same as a popcorn company, right? And so I'm over here doing this thing, so I had to go back to start. And the turning point and all that was the same thing it had always been. Like, who can teach me the thing? And that was it. I was just like, I'm going to go learn the next thing. And what was really amazing is it required me to raise my standards.
Mm-hmm.
For me to go and help other people, it required me to become a better man. And one of the things that I see all the time that I hate about my industry is
Mm-hmm.
that half of these people have never done shit.
Yes.
They've never sold a product. They only are mimicking whatever, though I'm sure you have a million copycats, right? And you see this in the world, and I'm like, I'm about being of service.
Mm-hmm.
I built a seven-figure company helping people. I didn't do, if I wanted to only do marketing, which I do in my other company, we make millions of dollars. I'm like, that requires no emotional energy of any capacity. I'm
Yeah.
really good at it. But I'm like, I wanted to help people, and I didn't think about building a business. And here's what I'll say also, the first couple years of building this I mean, I made $0. Like, it was crazy. I was losing money because I didn't understand the business of coaching. And I still just had this vision. It was always and has always been, if I can help a child not have a story like mine, let's go.
Yeah.
That means helping the people who were hurt so they don't do what my parents did, and hurt people.
Yeah.
And some of the success stories that I've had and some of the experiences people have had with me, I mean, it's unbelievable. And it just became this thing where I I'm a very selfish person, like
I think
truly
we
at my
all are,
core.
to an extent, if
We
we're honest.
yeah, I mean, most people won't be honest about it, but I am. I'm probably more so because I've had to be hyper independent since I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
Like like people do not understand that reality of what it's like to have to figure out how to get
Yeah.
yourself dressed into school because your mom is drunk on the couch and it's 7 o'clock in the morning.
So awful.
Right. And then take care of your little brothers and then help them do the same thing, and then learn to cook dinner. And then you put too much salt in it and you're like, nobody can eat. Right. And so since I was a child, I've been like, I have to figure this out.
Yeah.
And this was the first time in my life, you're talking about transition and the turning point. Starting this business was the first time ever that it wasn't about me.
Mm-hmm.
Like becoming an award-winning photographer, that was definitely about me. Right? Starting the t-shirt company, that was about me. The corporate job, that was about me. This is the first time I had to take a fucking step back and
Mm-hmm.
be like, go be of service.
Yeah.
Do you actually want to make the world a better place? Because the things that come along with it may or may not come along with it. And luckily for me, in many ways that they did.
Yeah.
And then in many ways that are unfortunate, it did as well.
Mm-hmm.
But all of it at this point, it's been like, how can I help people? And also, I want to add this point to this as well, because it's really important. I told you my brothers wouldn't talk to me. Like, I would literally pick up the phone to call my brothers and they would go, fuck you, and hang up on me. My own healing journey has healed my relationships with them. And like, I could never coach them or lead them, but
Mm.
I've brought them into my circles. I've taken them to events with me. They've met people who I rub elbows and eat dinners with and fly on jets with. And I've watched their lives fucking change.
Yeah.
So much of this is I've removed myself from having to be the most important person in the room and made it about everybody else.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that changed me forever.
And I think it is the thing that truly changes us. If you're somebody listening and you don't have that desire to serve or help, I mean, this is your chance to examine that, because I think ultimately those of us that are in business, we got into business either to serve ourselves or to serve others. Only one of those paths leads to actual happiness and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
Serving yourself can work
Totally.
for a while, but it doesn't work for that long. And you will wake up one day and you will ask, is there anything more than this? And the truth is, yes, there is. And I just love your story, because ultimately, this is how some of the most remarkable transitions and transformations happen, when it's not intentional, when it's simply people who see the work that you've done and they recognize that they need the same type of help. When
Mm-hmm.
people keep coming to you for things that you're not promoting as a business, but they keep coming to you for that, that's a sign that this is something that you have that others don't. This is something that you can share with, that you can help with, that others may not have. And like you said, that decision to say $250 instead of saying no again changed your entire life, everything
Mm-hmm.
about the life
Totally.
you've led since that time. And as you mentioned, you didn't know how it was going to shake out. You didn't know if you were going to be living, you know, in close to poverty, but you're still helping people. But that was not your motivation. And you believed that if you were doing this thing that was selfless for the first time in your life, that the right things would come your way. And I do believe that that is how it works. Obviously, I don't think that it's like if you can dream it, it's going to come to you. That's not really my mentality, but I do believe if your intentions are pure and serving others is your goal and you have done the work, again, not just said I can do this, but if you've done the work first and you have the understanding and the knowledge and the skill set to serve others, that passion and that purpose is going to come through and other people are going to notice and you will create real change, whether it's on a small scale or a large scale. And I think ultimately so much of what you're doing is just massively important in this world. I don't think that we as entrepreneurs take self-healing as seriously as we need to. You know, on our last
Mm-hmm.
conversation, you talked about the fact that most every entrepreneur that you know that's done something significant has come from a dark place. And I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that's discussed at all. They're not, certainly not openly within the industry, probably in the spaces
Mm-hmm.
that you're in a lot more so. But that means that almost all of us listening need to ask ourselves, what have we gone through that pushed
Mm-hmm.
us to a point where we knew we wanted to create a different life for ourselves, for our families, and have you truly confronted those things, or have you shoved them in a little box in your mind like I did? Have you tried to success yourself away like you did? You know, and are you ready to actually do the work? Because ultimately, that transformation and that breakthrough that maybe is the next phase of your life is just waiting on the other side of that. And you just don't know it yet.
Mm-hmm. And I'll add this too. The success, how I have had experienced it being at kind of the top of what you can touch in many, many ways
Yeah.
is, wildly unfulfilling. We have just been lied to.
Yeah.
And look, and again, we all, Allie, we hear this. It's not like people haven't told us this.
Yes.
You have to touch it. Like it's like put your hand on the burner so you know it's
You know.
hot.
Hmm.
And that's the only way. But if I could give anyone anything, let me tell you this: there's nothing more unfulfilling than getting on a private jet to go and get paid a bunch of money to speak, and then have dinner with a bunch of people who probably don't care that you exist, to come home to be in an empty relationship that it looks really, really good on paper because you're both like famous or whatever, and then you're sitting and looking at your life and being like, is this what I want?
Hmm.
I blew up my life over the course of the last 2 years. I literally, like, I looked at it. I looked at the relationship I was in, and it's not that she's not an amazing human, by
Yeah.
the way. It was just like our alignment was wrong. And I look at some of the people that I was engaged with and rubbing elbows with and spending time with, and I look at those. I go, how did I get here? I only came here to do this. I didn't know that I was gonna be, behind the scenes at all these places and all these things with all these people rubbing all these elbows, and then realize here's what's so crazy about this industry. The second you step away, you disappear you
Yeah.
stop being a reality to
Yes.
people. And I was sitting in Bangkok. I stayed in Asia for most of last year, pretty much traveling Europe and Africa the year prior. I just kind of needed a me time because I'd burned myself out. 200 flights a year, hundreds of stages, ungodly number of podcasts, coaching sessions, groups, masterminds, mentorship,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. Plus going to the events for myself and elbowing, handshaking and kissing babies and that whole thing.
Yeah.
And I disappeared, and the phone stopped ringing because I stopped posting, and
Yep.
people stopped coming to me because I stopped putting myself out there every day because I needed time to recharge.
Yeah.
And one of my great friends, Anthony Trucks, who is one of the first people who ever really put me on, like 9 years ago. Again, here's what's funny. I've never met Brendan Burchard. I've met everybody in our fucking industry, and the one guy who's always been adjacently changing my life for like 15 years, I've never met him.
That's
And
so
I met Anthony at a Brendan event. And Anthony was in Bangkok, I guess this is almost a year ago, which is crazy. And he and I are sitting and we're talking, and we're talking about funnels and automations and low ticket offers and OTOs and that and this and all the acronyms. And I said, man, I think I need to get back into speaking. So I think I need to go talk to these kids more. I think I need to get away from these stupid adults who think that they fucking know everything and that money solves all their
Mhm.
problems, and go walk this other path.
Yeah.
And I told him something. I'll share this publicly. I've not told anyone this. And I said, I've lost my confidence, Anthony. Like I sat here in these private jets with the most famous people in our industry in the world, and I looked at my life and I said, this is not what I signed up, and this isn't who I wanted to be. And I've lost it. And the most amazing thing he could have ever said to me was like, I get it, because I've been there.
Yeah.
And Anthony's one of the most prolific speakers in the country. He's amazing. And I made this decision. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to come back to America. I'm going to hit the reset button, and I'm going to approach this from a different path. And I'm going to get back to where I was, making it about everyone else and not me. Allie, I got lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
I won Grant. The worst thing that ever happened to me, and this is no disrespect to him, by the way, I won Grant Cardone's Great American Speak Off, and it was the worst thing that ever happened to me, because I got so inundated with the money,
Mm-hmm.
the money, the money, the money, the money, the money, and I lost the vision. Allie, I have nice shit. Like, I got a fucking Louis Vuitton backpack next to me. I
Yeah.
do not give a fuck.
Yeah.
I think about selling this thing every day. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know why I bought this, and it's not even that usable. It's the least user-friendly backpack I own. And I got lost in all of this. People want what we have. I was at dinner with John Maxwell one time in Kinshasa. We were down in Atlanta, I think. I don't know. And he said something really amazing. And obviously that dude's written more books than God, right? And you're sitting here listening to Maxwell, and he's amazing, and he's so prolific in the way that he talks. And he goes, people want what I have, but they don't want to be where I've been.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that, and I've been thinking about that non-fucking stop for months. And I'm like, I don't want to be where I've been. I don't ever want to touch that again.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be this guy where it's like, now that I have the fame and the fortune, it's become more important than the people. I got lost. I mean, look, I'm a kid from nothing who suddenly had the world on a platter. And, you get the text, hey, we're going to come pick you up in the Phantom to come speak at the event in Miami.
Yeah.
Cool. And
It's
I took this 2
fascinating.
years. It's crazy. And so I took the last 2 years to really reset myself. I was lucky enough to have an amazing conversation with Anthony. And here's the truth. I made less money in the last 2 years than I've made in the last 15.
Yeah.
Because I was like, fuck this money. I don't care. I'm exhausted. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of these people. I'm tired of all of this industry. I'm tired of money being the narrative. I'm tired of the keeping up with the Joneses. And I just needed to get grounded again. And so the reason I'm telling this story and why I haven't shared it before is because, one, I wasn't sure how to articulate it or if I was ready.
Yeah.
And then two is because I know somebody else is in that right now. They finally made it. They're in Allie's program. They're doing the things. They're making $100,000 a month. They're making $1 million a month. They've really figured it out. And now they are lost. And I just want to remind you, get back. Simon Sinek wrote Start With Why. It's a phenomenal book. Get back to why you started this. Because you got to buy mom a house. You got to take care of the kids. You got to do the thing that you thought you were supposed to do. And now you have abundance. And abundance doesn't serve you if you don't have a mission and a calling. And I think that in this industry far too often, because it is so much of sign your next high ticket client, who gives a fuck if you're miserable?
Yeah.
And so that's just what I want to give people today. It's like, I love the success. There is nothing better than flying first class when you're 6'4", 220 pounds. I promise you this.
Yes.
But also, like, can you get back to service? Can you get back to purpose? You're going to have to face the demon of the reality of success. You cannot escape it.
Mm-hmm.
But can you get yourself grounded again?
Well, I think that is it's so, so true. I mean, as they say, or I say, as they say, as the Bible says, the love of money is the root of all evil. Money itself is a tool. That's all that it is. And there's nothing wrong with making a lot of money. The
Hmm.
best thing that you can do with that is to not hate yourself while you're making it and to be of service in the making and with what you do with it. And you're so right. People, they believe that money and success can erase whatever it is they've been running from. And maybe
Hmm.
some of them are willing to do the hard work of building the business. And we know a lot of people are not willing to do that, but some of them are willing to do that. But then they're unwilling to do the hard work on themselves, which is the only thing that you can do to truly understand what you want and why you're here and what that mission and vision and how you're going to be of service will actually play out. And so, whether you are still on that grind to try and reach that level, just know there is no place that you actually say, I've arrived and I'm done. Okay. It doesn't actually exist if your mind and your heart and your soul are not in the right place because you will never be
Hmm.
satisfied if it's always about that. So just know you're on this never ending escalator. It has no tangible end. It will end. But the question is it going to end with you realizing it won't fulfill you and that you need to do the work that you haven't done? Or can you understand it now and say money and success is a byproduct of being of service and of making an impact? And whether that's a huge impact or a small impact, or whether that's a huge amount of money or a decent amount of money, if your heart and your mind and your soul are in the right place, you will be content with it. But it does not solve your problems. It will never solve your
Hmm.
problems. And sometimes you have to get to that place where you realize that in order to see it, but not everybody has to experience that. You know, you can take this conversation and say, what I believed has not been true. And I'm willing to examine myself and my motivations and really understand what it is I'm doing this all for. Because without that,
Hmm.
it's empty and it's meaningless. And I think this is, again, just such a conversation that is so important that is very rarely had. So I really appreciate you sharing that. If people want to find you, learn more about you, where can they go?
Yeah, I'm on everywhere at social at Michael Unbroken. And my big thing, what I'm spending all my time this year doing is just speaking at schools, talking to kids, talking to teachers, mainly high school kids and collegiate age people, because like elementary schools and middle school, they're not ready for this
You're not. No,
conversation.
no, no. Mhm.
Right. But kids who are 17, 18, about to transition into real life, who are dealing with real things. So if you have connections in those worlds, message me, because I want to be able to go and be a service of them. And then we're spending a lot of time in corporations talking about adversity and how you actually forge resiliency through embracing adversity, how we actually become real leaders, how we build real businesses, how we actually turn our message into something that can actually impact and change the world. So I'm Michael Unbroken everywhere. And then, of course, Allie's been on my podcast as well. If you go to thinkunbrokenpodcast.com.
I love it. So, if you could leave the listeners with one final piece of advice, whether that's business, life, whatever, what is it that you would really want them to hear?
The only the only thing that really drives me, and I think this has kind of always been the thing that has driven me ever since I was a kid. I didn't have the words for it then like I do now. And why people have always been like, you're crazy. You're going to leave a corporate job making 150 grand a year with no high school diploma to start a photography business.
Yeah.
You're going to leave a photography business being an award winning photographer making $10,000 on a Saturday to move to Portland, Oregon. You're going to go from Portland, Oregon to travel the whole world. You're going to go speak on stages and write books and do You're crazy. Here's what I want to leave people with. The only thing that fucking drives me, it's like, ask the girl out, take the risk, buy the thing, do the whatever it is that drives you. You are not promised tomorrow.
Hmm.
My fucking 3 childhood best friends are dead. My family, I got family in prison for life. Like, yo, for life. I haven't seen my uncle in 30 years.
Wow.
Life. My cousin, life, she's in there locked up forever. She ain't never getting out.
Exactly.
Right. My both of my brothers have survived things that I don't even talk about because it's their things. My
Yeah.
sister, and it's like, I don't want to die with regret.
Yes.
Nothing else matters to me. Nothing. It's like, can I show up and do the thing that I feel called to do? I was watching this video on YouTube yesterday. It was advice from 90-year-olds. I love watching these videos. I'm
Awesome.
obsessed with it.
I've never seen
And
one, and I have to look it up after we're done.
oh my God, you're going to have to. It'll change your life because you're watching these people tell you the truth about this experience. You know, we're not even to the halfway of that yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're babies. Like, if you really think about it, 35, 40,
Absolutely.
we are babies. Do you realize we have 50 years in front of us? Do you know how crazy that is?
Yeah.
And so one of the women said something that just wrenched my heart, because she was like, I wish I would have traveled. I've never left America. I've never fallen in love. I never built a family. I never tried. I was always scared.
Mhm.
She wasted her life.
Yeah.
She wasted it. I'm sure she has her reasons. God knows what would have happened to a person like that.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I want to leave people with, above all, do everything in your power not to die with regret.
I love
Because
it.
if you're on your deathbed and that last gasp of air is, I wish I would have,
Mhm.
good luck.
You're absolutely right. Well, I love this. What a powerful conversation. I'm sure you guys have enjoyed this. Share this with somebody who needs it. Share this with somebody, even if you don't know if they need it, because a lot of times we're not talking about these things. You may not know the person who needs to hear this today. So feel free to share this out. Definitely check him out. He is doing amazing, powerful work. And thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
It's my honor. Thank you.
All right. Now I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.